When I went down to Honduras the second time, it was much more eventful, as you can guess, than the first. It's interesting about the airport at Tegucigalpa, among other things, is that the runway is very short. It sits on the top of a hill, and it's probably maybe half as long as a normal runway. So as soon as the plane touches the ground, the pilot hits the brakes, so you get thrust forward like you're about to be in an accident or something. Quite an experience. I'll be saying that several times. You get off in the tarmac. It's like they did it back in the 50s. You just walk out. They put a staircase next to the door, and you just walk out onto the tarmac. The bags are just hand carried over to a little area where they just throw it into the inside of the airport. You gotta watch your bags, because people will grab them if you don't be careful. All around the airport there's little kids, like 7 or 8 year old kids, who will grab your suitcase, and if you're lucky, they're just trying to carry it for you for a tip. If you're not so lucky, they'll just run off with it. So you gotta make sure to pay attention to your bags. Got off, got my bags, got a taxi. The taxis don't have meters. You tell the taxi driver where you want to go, and he just sets a price, and you go there. If you're an American, I imagine the price is probably twice as much than a Honduran. Well, I went back to the bar first thing, where I met Maria. She wasn't there. Now, I knew such little Spanish at this point that I didn't even know "Donde está Maria?" I had to use a Spanish-English dictionary. Right before I had left the States, I had got a letter back from her. Now, the mail runs down there very slow. So if you send something, you'd be lucky if they get it within a month. She had sent me a letter back, because I had sent her something down there. I don't remember what it was, but package or something. She sent me a letter back, so I knew that she was in Judacopa, which is where that's her hometown. So I went to the bar. She wasn't there. Spoke to the girls there, and they told me that I showed them the letter, and they said, yes, she's here. She's there. She's in Judacopa Rancho. Well, I didn't know where Judacopa was. I had no idea. Never heard of it, of course. So I leave the bar, and I'm standing in front of the bar, and there's taxis going by. I figure Judacopa might be like a suburb of Tegucigalpa. So I'm trying to flag down a taxi, and they just keep driving, driving by. I'm like, they see me, don't they? I mean, what's the deal with this? Well, I'm walking down the street, not sure what I'm going to do. All of a sudden, I see a white guy walking towards me. Now, in the entire time that I was there, during this time, I think I might have seen one other white guy, white person. And the entire time I was there for like 5-6 weeks. And this white guy just happens across me walking down the street. Apparently somebody, for good or for evil, wanted me to find Maria. I said, are you a gringo? And he said, yeah, man. So he spoke English. I said, why is it that I'm trying to flag down these taxis and they just keep driving by? And he goes, man, you can't get a taxi here in the middle of the street, here in the middle of the block. You have to go down to the corner. Okay. So I said, okay. I started walking towards the corner, and he said, where are you going, man? And I said, I showed him the envelope. I said, Hudacopa Lancho. And he goes, man, you can't get a Hudacopa in a taxi. He says, you gotta ride a bus to go to Hudacopa. And I said, okay, where's the bus? This was about, I think they're on Central Time, just like here, down in Honduras. This is about 5 o'clock at night. He said, look, they're not running anymore tonight. So, tell you what, I'll let you stay with me over the evening, and in the morning I'll get you on a bus to Hudacopa. Apparently he had done this before for other young men who have come down there in search of a woman. So I went back to his place and we waited there for his wife to come home. Now his wife, Anna, beautiful woman, very sweet, very kind woman, early 30s, tall for a woman, let alone down there. Very pretty. She had a daughter. And it was the daughter's room that I had stayed in. For some reason, I guess she stayed with her father. The daughter stayed with the father during the week, and then on the weekend she stayed with Joseph and Anna. And Anna and I went to the bar, not a different bar, and talked about Maria and how we're going to go over there and whatnot. Joseph had actually come down there from L.A. His story was, he talked a lot about his dead mother. He had a thing for his mother. I mean, he was obsessed with his mother. She'd been dead for 10 years. Joseph told me that he had come down there after his mother had died. He had become an addict, cocaine, I think, and he had been arrested for it and was on probation. Somehow he got in touch with somebody who wanted a car down in Honduras. So he drove a car from Los Angeles down through Mexico and Nicaragua. Not sure if you go through Guatemala that way. Down into Honduras. So that's how he got there. He skipped probation, and he was down there, and And I seem to remember now how he said he met his wife, Anna. I think she took some pity on him and saw him, gave him a radio or something. I seem to remember that just now. Little handheld radio. Well, I stayed the night with them there at their place. Now, the bed I was sleeping on was a cot, like as in an army cot. Which wasn't so bad until later when I was sleeping on it with Maria, the two of us. Next morning, we went over to the bus station. They were going to put me on the bus, but I think, if I remember correctly, there was going to be a change where I had to change buses at some point. They decided to go with me, Anna and Justin. They skipped work. The work ethic down there isn't very strong. They skipped work and went with me down to Hudacopa. Now there at Hudacopa, we found a taxi driver who knew who Maria was. Which probably isn't much of a surprise considering how small the village was, a couple thousand, I guess. So, the taxi driver took us to Maria's place. Needless to say, Maria was surprised to see me. There are events in our lives, specific moments in time, that you'll never forget. Certainly was one of mine. She came back with us, and we talked as best we could through dictionaries. It doesn't take long when you're immersed in the culture to learn at least basic Spanish, which is all I know. But at that point I knew none. We went back and on that little cot that night, Maria and I were together for the first time. A couple days later, and this is going to be very relevant later on as the story develops for you. A couple days later, after the first time we were together, Maria told me she was pregnant. She already had 3 kids, which I didn't know before I went down there, of course. They lived with the father's mother. Anyway, it doesn't take knowing a lot of Spanish to understand yo es pregnito, which is what she said to me 2 days after the first time we were together. Significant. It will be in future videos whenever I get the opportunity to actually make them. So this might be the last one for a little while, depending on a number of different variables. I'm going to leave it here